Okay, so many people are given like a path in life that you just follow. And for many people, for a long time, due to advertising and whatnot, again, advertising, rational informed to irrational uninformed consumer, right? Due to advertising and all, many people think university and education is just what you're supposed to do. You finish high school, let's say you know how to like repair air cons or whatever, just go to university. Why? I don't know. So something's gonna happen. Get some degree. And nowadays, we have people chasing master degrees to become even more competitive. Because like everybody has a bachelor's degree, right? Rats running faster and further to please their overlords. That's not how you win a rat race. Okay. Joseph Schumpeter predicted that the over-intellectual overclass would revolt against the system and basically fuck everything up. Take, for example, an English major with a minor in psychology. She will pursue a master's degree in English after the bachelor's degree. She might even take on more debt. This is assuming she's rich, by the way. So we're already talking about the upper echelons of society, right? And then she'll pursue the master's degree. And then after she graduates, she will be considered a highly educated, highly professional person. But in reality, she's just useless. Her degree is, for the most part, kinda useless. You know what I mean? She will demand a job with a salary that is just impossible. It doesn't exist because of her qualifications. And this will breed resentment. And people like this will just get pissed and mess things up because they invested a lot of time, they invested a lot of money, and they didn't get the returns they were promised. You see, we keep chasing education, but at the end of the day, we need people who can, like, do shit with their hands.
Take your protein pills and put your helmet on.
Universities have spent ridiculous amounts of money on advertising over decades to convince people that they need to go to university. University has become like a status symbol now. That shit is more, and this university degrees being advertised combined with the women power initiatives, now university degrees are so fucking common, it's more common to not have them. Quite literally. There was a speech once Conan O'Brien gave to the Dartmouth students where he talks about how having a bachelor's degree gives you a crushing advantage over 8% of the workforce. Here's the...
Today you have achieved something special. Something only 92% of Americans your age will ever know. A college diploma. That's right, with your college diploma, you now have a crushing advantage over 8% of the workforce.
And the point is, many people have this stuff. Being educated is not what it used to be. Back then, being educated, having a Harvard degree, right? Harvard's acceptance rate was 80% back in the day when you had all the prep school boys going to Harvard. That was when it meant something. That was when there was a certain amount of elitism associated with Harvard. And back then, yes, the money you paid Harvard was worth something. Because you were buying that elitism. You were buying that upper place in society. But nowadays, because everybody has that degree. And then another thing I'd quickly like to point out is the STEM shortage. The STEM shortage was a meme. It was manufactured by corporations to make students get more STEM degrees to saturate the labor market. So the STEM shortage is also fake. If you think getting a STEM degree is going to magically make you a millionaire, it is not really. It's still really hard out there, even if you have a STEM degree. Now, I just want to talk about a cool success story that happened in Singapore, by the way. So there's this Albanian man who moved to Singapore to marry his girlfriend after he had some kind of jaw accident. He came to Singapore basically broke and he tried to find a job with his degree. I think he had some degree in IT or whatever the fuck. And once he got hired for some pest control company, right? He was a good slave, okay? He was the perfect purple squirrel, okay? He did extra work for long hours. He did work he was not supposed to do, like designing a website. And he did all this for a pest control company, and naturally he was paid shit. And after that, that is when he realized that he was not working for anyone ever again. And due to the humidity in Singapore, right, Singapore is hot and shit, this guy started his own aircon repair company. He learned how to install and repair air conditioning units. And he first rented a car, and he put a bunch of tools in it, and he just started, like, hustling and shit. Hustlers University, haha. Right? You know, top G, okay? And eventually he started building a reputation. Because he was a foreigner, him repairing an aircon, there was a certain amount of novelty in it, I suppose. And because of this, he started going down the phone book and he started building his reputation, installing aircon units, repairing and getting more and more jobs. And yeah, he initially started with a local aircon repairman, and in 2 months he learned the skills to basically start working. So it's like a 2-month investment, and the car investment as well. And in fact, during COVID, this guy got richer. right? So this is a story of how somebody learned a trade skill and then started his own company. And with a little bit of marketing and just word of mouth, this guy always had a job. And I can also point to many stories in the US where people start sustainable small farms and become weirdly rich. People leave their city and start with as little as $600 and they start with chickens and they just sell eggs and they just grow from there, depending on whether they need to grow or not, depending on how much demand there is. And they just live independent lives anyway. So even if they're not making $1 trillion a year, they're still independent. And they don't have to take shit from anybody, and they don't have to work extra long hours and whatnot. Many will say farming and repairing aircons is hard. It is difficult. It is hard work, right? The aircon guy, yes, he worked many long hours. You can read his article. I'll link it in the description. His job was not easy by any means. But the thing is, you are also the boss and you have to make decisions. So that makes it even harder. So you're also the boss. You cannot just, you need to know every aspect of your business, right? Paychecks don't appear to you from some black box you go and work in. You actually have to know what is happening. You have to know what's happening down to the low level, if you will. But the beauty is you don't have to work for someone. You get to make decisions. And the thing is, here's something a lot of people don't understand. You have to work hard anyway. If you go to some top-end university and get a STEM degree, you think your life is going to be automatically easy after you graduate? You think you just have to show up someplace and you'll get paid a 6-figure salary? It's like, no, those guys are working hard too. People in the city arguably work harder than people in the country, even though their work is more meaningless, more like sedentary and more unhealthy. They do actually work hard, and it is very difficult. Rates of these depression numbers and whatnot don't lie. But at least in the trade sector, you have some kind of independence. You can start your own company. You kind of work for yourself. You directly interact with the customer. There is no black box you have to go through. And in fact, this is kind of what the American dream was, right? You work for somebody, right? You get paid a salary, you gather enough capital, and then you go and you start your own stuff. You invest that money into like tools or a car like the aircon guy did, or some land and some chickens, and you start making money from there. That was what the dream was supposed to be. Doesn't really exist anymore, but yeah. In countries like Singapore, or even cities in general, this is just impossible, especially in Singapore. Or at least it's very hard. Every industry in Singapore is basically taken over the entire market, their respective markets. Regulations here protect monopolies a lot. People don't, and brand consciousness. Brand consciousness is very high in Singapore. People do not want to buy furniture from a local man or whatever. They want to buy it from IKEA. They don't want to buy like a phone. They want to buy the iPhone, right? Brand mentality like this just makes it harder for small businesses, just period. And land prices here are just infinity. They just don't exist. You just cannot get land here. And if you do, you cannot grow chickens on it or whatever due to regulations. But in places like the US or India or even certain parts of China, right? I get it, right? China, you got the CCP, you have mass surveillance, 1984, I get it. But there are villages in southern parts of China that are actually pretty nice, where you can do this kind of farming stuff. If you go to cities, it is always hard, okay? Land there is just too expensive, unless you're a millionaire already. I suppose you could do things like open a restaurant, but even then, buying that plot of land is just going to be extremely difficult. And again, the only other option you have is to be a slave to somebody, is to be a slave to a big business, is to rent yourself to the big businesses. And that might sound good on paper, but you have to understand that promotions and things like that are clearly a scam, right? People nowadays keep job hopping. Hire and fire culture is very prominent. And if you seriously have faith in these black boxes where you just go and then the paycheck just comes out, that faith is misplaced, man. I'm just going to say that. And yes, doing farm chores, installing an AC is hard. But so is moving around. But moving around and doing shit with your hands, feeling tired enough to sleep at night, right? Not good sleep, not the depressive TikTok scroll, not that shit. The good sleep, that is honest work, right? That'll let you live a good life. And the weird part is that stuff will make you very rich. This is something a lot of people fail to understand. They think they have to go to university and work for Microsoft to get rich. You'd be surprised how many of these farmers are very rich. The aircon guy I told you about earlier in Singapore, he came with nothing. And now he's basically a millionaire. He repairs aircons. Like, come on. We are clearly being scammed with this uni stuff. There's more to the picture that we are not being told about here. So this video is about being, I guess you could say, courageous enough to take a couple risks and look in some strange areas. Again, you want to be sitting in front of some fucking computer for some fucking boss, inching closer to depression and TikTok addiction? You want to live in Night City?
Hell no, to the no, no, no.
right? Like, nobody wants to do that. Everybody wants to move out of the city. Everybody talks about how miserable that shit is, right? Stop being institutionalized. Think for yourself a little bit. Become independent. And yeah, opportunities exist. Just look around and find yours. Thanks for watching. The STEM shortage is a myth. Have a nice day.